The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships. Or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
Today, we're going to be talking about the topic of 4 ways that we can improve our relationships when it comes to business or life. I wanted to share this with you today because I read this morning, but I thought it was really powerful and it was really centered around marriage. And so I'm going to use 2 contexts. I'm going to use marriage, but I'm also going to use business because I think both of them kind of go hand in hand with each other. And so as we get into this today, you know, whether you're married or not married, it's not really going to matter whether you're in business or not in business. It's not going to matter because this is really a way for you to improve any relationship in your life or in your business. And so, you know, if you're saying like most of the people we work with, you know, they are business owners, and a lot of the people we work with are married business owners, but this really applies to anybody who is, you know, wanting to be in a leadership position in their life, or, you know, maybe they're even leading their kids. They're not married and they may have a business, but this really applies. And you know, I'm going to use the context of marriage and a lot of this because obviously I'm married. A lot of the people we work with are married, but I'll also give you some context around some other things that you can look at it this way, because I see this a lot, what happens a lot inside of our marriage, inside of our business. And really a lot of times the way we lead in marriage is the way we lead in business. As this comes up, let's just talk about, so number 1 is to honor, you know, my wife's needs above my own. And for a lot of times, people, you know, we want to go to blame. And so I would blame my wife before I would honor my wife, you know, and I have a tendency to where, you know, I could end up doing this on a day-to-day basis if I don't pay attention to this. So we could blame our wife or look at her as a problem versus honoring her needs above my own. And really, this is more of a biblical principle, is like, hey, we have to honor our wife or our spouse's needs above our own because that's a spirit of, you know, gratitude. That's a spirit of, you know, being thankful for them. And I think we could take this step into honoring our employees' needs above our own if you're a business owner. And for a lot of times when we are honoring our own needs above everybody else's, especially inside of our business, we're constantly thinking, hey, what are we going to get out of it? Or what are my employees doing for me versus what can I do for my employees? And I think having that honor in your business, in your marriage, whether, you know, you're the wife or you're the husband, having that is really important. And so inside of our business, it's the same way. We have to honor our employees' needs above our own. And when we can do that, you know, we're coming in to that relationship with a spirit of, you know, wanting to give. And I think that's a really good spirit to have. We're coming in with an honor of wanting to serve someone else. When we can serve someone else, I think that's ultimately where we can get what we want out of the relationship. We can eliminate the ego part of it, because the ego a lot of times says, well, what am I getting out of it? Or what are they doing for me? And that's kind of a victim. That's kind of a victim mindset. And it's also a spirit of us taking advantage of someone else. The other one is, this is, if you're talking about marriage, marriage is superior to any other relationship on earth. And so if we think about your relationships on earth, who you're married to is superior. It's the number one relationship on earth, the number two relationship, period. So we have God, me and my wife, even on our anniversary this year, we made a pact and we got a tattoo together that was to represent, hey, we put God first and then our relationship second. Now that doesn't mean that our relationship is on the back burner. It just means, hey, we're going to put God first in our marriage and our relationship, and then it's our relationship is next. But here on earth, our relationship is number one. It's number one above anybody else. Kids, it's number one above anybody else. Other family, friendships. Doesn't mean those aren't important. It just means that we're going to put our marriage first. So even if I said, listen, in business, my relationship with my employees is above anything else in my business. And so, who I work with as employees is the most important relationships I can have, because if those are dysfunctional, that's going to represent the rest of my business. And so, if you're thinking about this is, sure, your relationship with your customers is important, but your relationship with your employees, who you're closest to in your business, is superior to anything else. And I think it's important that we establish that. And it's also important that you have to show up as the leader in your business for your employees. And it can't just be about business. It also has to be about when they're going through tough times. The next one is being transparent, open, and honest with each other. And I think, in marriages, you hear a lot of times, people talking bad about their spouse to other people. I think that's one of the worst things that we can do, when we're married. And so being able to be transparent with your spouse, be open and honest with each other is very important, because when we're not, it causes division, it causes separation. And when that creeps in, it begins to disconnect us. And so, I know a lot of times, in marriages, other like friends are more honest with friends about their marriage than they are with their actual spouse about marriage. And that causes division. That causes kind of a wedge to creep in. And I think it's the same as, like, you have to be 100% open and honest in your marriage. If you can't, then, that's causing a wedge inside of your marriage. And yeah, like sometimes honesty and being open hurts, but it doesn't hurt as bad as like not being open and honest. And the same in your business. If you can't be open and honest with your employees, it's going to cause division. If you have other employees being open and honest with each other more than you, that's also going to cause that. And so I think that's an important rule to think about in your marriage, in your business, is like, hey, am I 100% open and honest with my spouse and with my employees about things that I'm going through? And then I think the last piece is one of the biggest things that we have to be able to do. So if I'm in a marriage, if I'm in a relationship with my spouse, I have to be able to forgive. And so, we talk about being open and honest. Sometimes that can come with pain, that can come with hurt. But I think the important thing is, inside of that, is we have to be able to forgive, no matter what. And typically we don't forgive when we haven't forgiven ourselves or forgiven other people. And I think the old saying is like, hey, forgiven people forgive people. So when we've forgiven others or when we've forgiven ourselves, it's easy to forgive other people. When we haven't, then we tend to hold on to that. And so that's an important thing is if we're going to be 100% open and honest, we also have to learn to forgive people. It doesn't mean we need to forget about what they may have done, but it means that we can definitely forgive them. And I think in business, if you're creating a culture of being open and honest, you have to also create a culture of being able to forgive, because carrying resentment, carrying, frustration, that bleeds over into everything else in business. And so, being able to forgive, look, I'm going to screw up. I'm going to screw up as much as anybody else. Employees are going to screw up. People inside of your business are going to mess up. And you have to be willing to forgive if you want to move on, because a lot of times we can take that into other relationships, and we can take that into other employees that come into our business. And so it's important that we have, a spirit of forgiveness. It's important that we learn to forgive so that we can move on and continue to do the work that we want to do. Because if forgiveness doesn't happen, it becomes a weakness inside of your company, inside of your culture. And just like marriage, it becomes a weakness inside of your marriage. If you haven't forgiven your spouse for something that happened a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years ago, it's actually getting stronger and stronger and harder to do that. And it's one of the things that causes, employees to leave. It's one of the things that causes divorce to happen in marriage. And that is one of the biggest things that we see when it comes to, people inside of, businesses that we work with, and inside of their own marriages and relationships that we work with. Is it's one thing that keeps them from growing closer or kind of going to that next level in their business or life. So these are the things I want to share with you guys, because I think they apply both to business and life. They could apply to any relationship in your life. But these are the 4 ways that you can improve any relationship in your life. If you guys have any questions on this, you're watching the replay on this, maybe you're listening to this, drop a comment, or check out our Facebook group, Habit-Based Lifestyle. We do a show every single week, 2 shows a week on lifestyle and business. So we love having you part of our community, listening to this show. So we'll talk to you guys soon.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse.